I'd like to share a story with you that is honestly mortifying, but I think illuminating for music teachers. So, when I was 19 years old, I started going to a church and they had a choir with about 100 people. And I decided that I wanted to sing in a choir for the first time in my life. Now, I had played flute for many years and been successful with that. So, I wasn't too concerned about it. So, I go to the audition, and the choir director asks me to sight read the alto line. So I say, oh, here's the thing. I'm actually really great at sight reading. I got great scores, all through high school. And so if you could just play it on the piano, then I'll be able to sight read it pretty easily. And he said, oh, well, with sight singing, I'm just going to start you off with a chord and you're going to sing the line all the way through. And to be honest, friends, I was thinking, is this guy serious? That's not even something that's possible. So after a little bit of back and forth, I eventually said, I guess I'm just not sure how I'm supposed to know a song that I've never heard before if you don't play it for me. And that's why when I heard about John Feierabend's Conversational Solfege and looked into it, I thought this is a fantastic framework to avoid that kind of embarrassment. Going backwards a little bit, because of the developmental nature of music aptitude, we know that up until around 7 years of age, the focus in general music should be on doing music. That is singing, playing, improvising, dancing. Students should be engaged in this way as opposed to, say, working on notation, reading things, putting labels on things. And the reason that is because we know that neuroscience tells us that experience is the most powerful building block for growing musical aptitude. So let's say you've capitalized on the wonders of the developmental nature of musical aptitude up till around age 7, age 9, and you have maybe 85 to 90% of your students or the students who are coming to you independently musical. Dr. Feierabend calls it tuneful, beautiful, and artful, meaning they can sing in tune, they enjoy using their voice, they create tunes in their heads, they move competently and comfortably, not only to the steady beat, but to meter in music. In other words, they understand in their body that the steady beat is grouped into twos, threes, or some combination thereof, and they're compelled to move to the music they hear or perform. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, they connect in a powerful way to the magical underlayer of music, the art part of music, as Dr. Feierabend would say. If you're there, then you are ready for a significant shift in your approach to general music. This happens, in my experience, at around the beginning of second grade. That's no guarantee. It depends on what kind of instruction has come before, but let's say around second grade. I don't want students to learn the way I learn. And trust me, I know that my music teachers were just doing the best that they could with what they knew. But I want kids who will bring understanding to formalized musical ideas instead of trying to force intellectual understanding on something students have not truly experienced enough to internalize. So how do we do this? Well, now that we're in this more formalized era of instruction, we want to utilize what Dr. Feierabend calls a three-pronged approach to general music instruction. The prongs should happen every time you meet with students. So, for example, if up until this point, every time you met with students, you were doing music for the whole time, now we have a shift. Doing music is still very important, but it is one of 3 parts of every lesson in general music. The other parts are learning something about music. That could be a genre, that could be a label. You could say we are learning about patriotic music. We are learning about Afro-Cuban music. We are learning about classical music. Those are about parts of music. So you have about, you have the doing part, and now you have something brand new, which Dr. Feierabend labels as notational literacy. And really, what's happening here is we're trying to encourage students to become independent musical thinkers who find a way to read and write or communicate the music that exists in their audition and that they can perform. This is where conversational solfege comes in, though, of course, there are other approaches for working on this type of literacy, because I believe it's important to acknowledge that Western notation is just one way to accomplish this end. But if Western notation, the reading and writing of it, is important in your program, conversational solfege is certainly something worth considering. Why did he call it conversational? Because the program is modeled on a conversational language learning model, as opposed to a grammar based model of learning in language. So when I was in high school, I took Spanish for many years, and it was grammar, vocabulary, grammar, vocabulary. In a conversational model, it's throw you into the deep end. Everybody is only speaking that language, and you begin to internalize that because you are approximating it. And then after a while, you learn the labels. So we believe that this approach works so well in notational literacy because students are first becoming grounded and comfortable hearing and then performing, whether it's chanting or singing, the material, right? In this way, the truth is when they get to reading the notation or writing the notation, it's not difficult for them. Rather, it's a natural step in the process. The thing that I love most is that students are bringing an inherent musical understanding to the notation that often is not there when the approach is reversed, which was certainly true in my case. Using conversational solfege for notational literacy in your program helps students understand music through the use of these rhythm and solfege syllables. First at a conversational level, so they're just saying it, they're repeating it over and over again. Then they're beginning to decode it. So for example, if I say do-daddy, do-daddy, do-dee-do, students would say in the beginning, do-daddy, do-daddy, do-dee-do. After a while of practicing that with these patterns and with chants, I'm going to say to them, would you please tell me where the do-daddies are in this pattern? Ba 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 ba. And ask them to do what we call decoding. And they say, do-daddy, do-daddy, do-dee-do. After a while, we move that when they become so conversant with these things, whether it's in patterns or in a rhyme or in a song, then we begin to show them visually so they begin to read, and then we want them to express it through some kind of writing, right? But the whole point is they are joyfully engaged in performing things and then moving to the literacy piece. I hope that no matter what you choose, that this will at least encourage you to think about what you're doing with these kids at a more formalized level. And if you are interested in conversational solfege, I hope you will reach out and I will do my best to answer questions. And I encourage you, if it is at all possible, to take a certification course to really grapple with the ideas and gain some understanding of how to plan, which can be tricky. Thanks for your time.